I'm Cape Joel, and this is Comic Smack, your weekly, daily, all the time, anytime comic show where I give you your fix of everything you need to know from the world of comic books and superheroes. And on today's show, we're taking a belated look at Deadpool number 29. Can Wade and his friends overcome the terrifying monster army of Shikla, especially now that they've lost their ace in the hole? Well, let's hop on in together and find out, shall we? So, as we join the comic, it's a big old wedding scene. The turncoat Dracula is ready to tie the knot with Shikla the Monster Queen, in doing so giving them an alliance that would easily allow them to steamroll the human race. Also, hey, if that priest looks familiar, it's cause he should be. It's Mephisto, Marvel's favorite devil stand-in. In fact, as he puts it, he's not used to marrying people, he's only really used to making marriages go away. Oh, and everyone laughs except for Spider-Man, who says he doesn't get the reference. Ouch, ouch, a million times, ouch. Now, the unholy matrimony couple are ready to return to the monster metropolis so they can get their personal factions to stop battling each other. Meanwhile, they leave Spider-Man and Deadpool to be devoured by a giant spider because, hey, cruel irony. Now, it's in the monster metropolis, the hoity-toity elitist vampires are taking out all their aggression on the lower tier monsters. We also see the monster superheroes, Werewolf by Night, Mummy, etc., finally re-enter back in the story after many issues of them not actually playing a part. They believe that all this monster-on-monster violence should end, and you know what? They're not alone in that sentiment either, because they're joined by, get this, the ghost of Ben Franklin. You remember him, right? He was actually a super fun supporting character when the Duggan run started all that time ago. Haven't seen him in a long time, but here he actually preaches some pretty interesting ideas, saying when he was alive, he helped people throw off the chains of an evil monarchy, and he says that the monsters can do the same, because you know what? All peoples have inalienable rights, even if they are monsters. The joke here, of course, is that the monsters wholeheartedly agree with Benjamin Franklin, but have no idea who he is, calling him both Abraham Lincoln and Bernie Sanders. Now, when King Dracula and Queen Shikla manage to make it back into the underworld, they notice all the unrest going on, and they're afraid they might not be able to rein their people back in now that they have a taste for freedom. This, as you might guess, ends up leading into one giant schmoz between everyone fighting for dominance, and oh hey, the Mercs for Money show up again for at least a panel, because they were in this event, right? So they need to be here now. Deadpool ends up making one last desperate push for romance and understanding, saying that there's a part of him that still loves his wife, and he hopes that they can patch things up, even though he did get betrayed for Dracula. At first, this ends up doing pretty well because they start knocking boots right in the middle of the battlefield, but Shikla's mind is made up. She will honor her marriage to Dracula, but at the same time she knows she can't be queen to a bunch of people who don't want her, so she allows the monsters their freedom so they can hold their own elections. Everyone's pretty happy about this, even though it still doesn't avenge the monsters' death from earlier on in the comic, or the fact that monsters are treated like second-class citizens in Marvel's New York, but I think they've all lost the thread right about now. The good guys celebrate, but Deadpool, forever being the one with bad luck, is served a bunch of lawsuits for all the damages caused by his wife during the monster attacks, especially to Parker Industries. But, you know, it's not all bad mail. He also gets a letter from Shikla on her way out the door saying that even though they may have had their problems, there was some love and affection there, and don't count out a booty call in the near future. And that's more or less where the comic begins to wind down. Deadpool number 29, Till Death to Us Part 6, was a comic that ultimately ended a lot weaker than it began. Don't get me wrong, there were some funny gags in there, and the art was probably the best looking here in the finale than any of the other tie-ins. But at the end of the day, it just felt like a very long way to go for Deadpool to end up being single again. I mean, I guess I appreciate that Shikla ended up being a complicated character and she wasn't fully evil, but by the end, this event sort of lost the whole thing about being a parody of big summer blockbuster events, and it also lost a lot of the more interesting questions about monsters' place in Marvel's New York. I mean, it's not like I expect a lot of deep, interesting themes from a Deadpool book, but I know Jerry Duggan and Deadpool are capable of these sorts of things, and I was just hoping that's the way it was going. If I was to compare it to the last couple Marvel events, it was definitely nowhere near as bad as a Civil War 2, but it wasn't a Pleasant Hill or even a Secret Empire. It was just pretty okay with a lot of tie-ins that went nowhere. Overall, I would end up giving it a 6 out of 10.